Welcome back to the Growth Nexus Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ray Winkelmann. He's the founder of Prepped, a Tampa-based SaaS company that helps meal prep businesses scale, automate, and simplify their delivery. In this episode, we dig into Ray's journey from food delivery technology in Canada to building a niche powerhouse in the US. And we explore how he's leveraging AI in his sales streams without really over-engineering his products, making sure it's still really useful for his end customers. So if you're building in SaaS or you just want to find ways to grow smarter, I think this conversation is going to be a great one for you. Hey, what's up? And welcome back to the Growth Nexus Podcast. Today, I have with me Ray Winkelmann. He is the CEO of Prepped, which is it's an online meal prep software. So Ray, I'm gonna let you do a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your company, what you guys are doing over there.
Sure thing. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I own a SaaS company. We help meal prep companies. We've got a ton of features. We're an all-in-one ordering platform. We give them their own branded mobile app, and we help them deliver 91% of U.S. zip codes. Feature set's too long to list, but we've been going since 2019 and are growing pretty steadily. So we've been leveraging AI and trying to keep up with the ways of the world. It's been a lot of fun, man. We're at orderprepped.com. All our social media handles are orderprepped.
Very cool. So, I mean, it's what I always find so fascinating talking to different business owners is just how many business opportunities are out there, right? Like, you could be in, SaaS. I mean, it literally covers every industry. So what drew you into this vertical in particular?
It's a bit of a longer story. I can tell it. I'll try to be quick, but essentially I built a bigger food app in Canada, and it scaled up really well. I had some stock in that, and we were in 40 regions in Atlantic Canada, doing quite well. Didn't do so well after gas hit $9 a gallon in our province, but we were charging the end consumers about $50 to deliver them 2 McDonald's hamburgers. And I guess my heart just wasn't in the mission. I wasn't really attached to that. I wasn't aligned with that mission. I don't eat McDonald's. I'm not a fast food guy. So it inspired me to start something different. And really, it's a hyper niche of helping people get healthy food out. Yeah. So we said, okay, we're really going to focus on healthy food. And it seemed like the vendors that were the most dedicated were this meal prep model that really sold on a subscription basis rather than just an a la carte type of order. And so I ended up hyper niching into this meal prep software. And it turns out it's a pretty big growing market. So I believe we've got just south of a 6% annual growth rate on the meal prep market, the delivered meal prep market. And I think, don't quote me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since I looked at this data, but I think we're coming up on like a $30 billion industry by 2023. That's global.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've got good year-over-year growth. And I thought, yeah, I'm gonna try this niche out and let's just see. And it's going pretty well. We added some different demographics to our ICP recently. Now we can help schools, we can help senior living facilities, and it's not just meal prep companies that use the software, but we built it with them in mind. There's features that really lend themselves to eating healthy, like the calorie counter. When you change your meals as you're ordering in real time, it'll update that to show the change that you've made. Like, let's say you do double meat, well, the protein's going to go up and it'll accurately represent what you're about to eat. Whereas pretty much every other platform out there, you get a static nutrition facts label and that's it.
Right. That's very cool. Yeah. And it's so like finding that niche, I mean, that's, we've been talking about that in marketing for forever, right? Since marketing happened. How have you found the role of, with technology? Obviously AI has so many buzzwords with it, right? Artificial intelligence has been around for a very long time. It shows up in vastly different forms, whether it be spell check, or these complex large language models. How have you found it to be helpful for you as a business owner in what you're doing? And maybe even some of the features that's helped you maybe add that you wouldn't have added in the past?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for us at Prepped, we have really leveraged a lot of AI in our sales system. So we've got a little bit in our actual product, but we didn't need a ton in our actual product.
Right.
I use more of it in my sales system. Yeah, like so my CRM really heavily leverages AI to do things like personalized responses to our Facebook DMs, our Instagram DMs, our text, our 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 phone number, and I think there's another channel that I'm forgetting here. Our chat widget on our website,
Okay.
all powered by AI. If I'm sleeping, I can't answer that. So AI will provide the first answer, gather some quick contact details, maybe set an appointment after a few messages back and forth, and then I can get in and close that sales prospect when it's, my working hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really great use case. I was in a cohort and we were actually talking about different use cases, and oftentimes people are looking at AI through the lens of tools instead of looking at through the lens of solving problem. And I also, so for you, the problem is how do I run a global business while I'm sleeping, right? We all have to sleep and actually take care of our bodies. We can't just be that whole like late 90s, early 2000s startup grind where, I'll deprive myself of all life just to grow my business. That doesn't work long term. So how do we leverage these tools? And I think that's an awesome example by implementing in the sales process. And I also think something that was really profound is what you didn't say was there's not a massive need for it within the direct customer product. You're not over engineering a product just because it's available and just because we can do something. Maybe it's not the right thing. And I think that's that's really profound as well for business owners. Like you don't have to cram something in there just because you hear it. So,
That's right. And I guess a lot of SaaS companies, they sort of build tech in a vacuum. So it's like, okay, we built this complicated tech thing for other tech companies to use, and those tech companies are used by other tech companies, and those tech companies are used by other tech companies. And it really is just becoming a monstrous vacuum. And the people that use our software are everyday people, right? They're chefs and just consumers of food, which is, who doesn't? It's everyone.
right.
And so we really wanted to keep it simple. On our roadmap, we have a couple items where, we'd like to implement AI, but it's very simple. It's like, as a chef or an operator, when you're entering a new product and putting it on your menu, we would have AI complete the product description for you.
Right.
Like just basically do some copyright for you.
Yeah.
It's not very complicated. We don't want to take the control away from the operators, and of course, it's hard to train because we're a SaaS platform. We have so many vendors. It's really hard to train one AI model to do things for all of them. So then we end up paying for different AI models for all of our vendors. And I don't think that the real need is there in the product for some really big AI type features.
Right.
I think we benefit the most from having it integrated with our CRM, and it
Yeah.
helps us sell.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I think too the whole idea of like developing inside of a vacuum. Can you tell me maybe just share a little bit more of your process, like as a company and business owner, like what ways do you intentionally get outside of that vacuum in order to make sure that you're building a product for your end consumer and maybe not just for what you think your end consumer wants?
That was a really good question. So when I first started, I made the mistake of doing the latter. And I got a mentor, and my mentor said, listen, Ray, if your SaaS company makes under $10,000 a month right now, you don't have a product or you're not done your product. And if your SaaS company makes under 30K right now, you don't know your customers well enough. You need to really know your customers. And I was right in that window when we spoke. And so I was like, oh, well, okay, what do I do, man? Like, how do I know my customers? And this is like a multimillionaire who's done more SaaS exits now than like we can count because he rolled into angel investing. So my mentor says, okay, well, you've got this sales pipeline, this CRM set up, and it's super fancy with all these automations and appointment reminders and personalized emails and so on and so forth. But I want you to call them. So like, as an introvert and a 13-year engineer, that's like, I'm instantly terrified. I'm like, no, like, don't tell me to call them. Like, like my subconscious mind has been like sending us in a different direction because this is like the thing that I hate. Right.
Right.
And it's like, I really needed to hear that. Like, I definitely needed to hear that. So I'm like, all right, man. And he's like, the next time we call, you're going to have called 500 businesses. And I'm like, screw it. I'm going to do it. Right. And so then I just start cold calling and cold calling and cold calling. And, ratios on cold calls aren't so great. Like, you get hung up, you're going to get hung up on, that, you're lucky to have like 15% of the people register, right? Or even lower register, depending on what you're selling. And what I did was I did discovery led sales. So instead of me calling and be like, hey man, I'm offering this, I called them. I'm like, hey, do you offer delivery? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, how far can you go? And they're like, oh, we go about 20 miles. And I'm like, what if you could go farther? And, what would you like to? And what's stopping you from doing that? And then I basically just start to ask them all these questions about their business. And then I start to say, okay, well, I have an idea about how maybe you could deliver farther. Right. And the point is to get them on a second call and build a relationship. So it's just discovery and relationship. There's no sale, no product at all in the first two conversations I have with people, because the goal actually is for me to understand my customer. Right. It's like, I'm not even trying to sell yet. If they buy, which they do, usually after the second call, because we have this like trust established and stuff. The point is just to understand them. And in cold calling and just talking to people, yeah, I've definitely gotten to know my customer. But I guess the short answer to the question is literally pick up the phone and call them old school.
Yeah.
Just old school phone call. Yep.
And I think this is a great, combination of technology and humanity, right? Like we can use the technology to get information, but then we can't expect the technology to replace the human relationship. Like we can't expect it to just like automatically have this autonomous conversation with our prospects to build that trust. And I'm sure that as you've had these conversations, you've also learned, maybe come to appreciate your customers more, really know their needs, and then you build a product that actually services what they're looking for. And then
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine, your churn rate's lower because of that, right? Because you actually have a product that does what they're looking for. Um, and I think that's really cool. And honestly too, like I have, as I getting older, I become more introverted. Even though I tend to be extroverted, but still like cold calling, it's terrifying. It's terrifying for so many of us. Like it's like, man, I got to get on this phone call and talk to somebody. And the reality is we're afraid of rejection probably more than anything. That's just an innate human fear, right? Like we don't like to be told no.
You got it.
Um, but what's cool is like the only way you know that information is not going to be through an anonymous survey. It's not going to be through just like shooting from the hip. It's like asking somebody and building a relationship enough with them for they tell you the real reasons that they need things, right? Not just like the top level of like, here, I'm buying this because, I like this or I like that. But it really gets down to like, how it makes them feel and how it makes them see themselves as a business owner and what they're doing. So I like that two-step process. And I like the discovery, those questions you mentioned. Really good questions. Instead of like, I had a cold call the other day that immediately was like, do you want, X amount of money, on credit? And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm a cash run business. Like I've been in credit pay in the past and I'm not going back there again. But he like kept trying to hammer me. I'm like, dude, you just don't get it. Like he went straight for, here's what I want to give you, and never even took time to even understand me and realize that like that's not even something that's in my profile. So now like I have a bad taste on that business's, view and brand because
Yeah.
it's super pushy. But I've had others where it's been like I've got on calls with software and and be like, I don't even know this is a good fit for you now. Let's talk a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish, and it's more about me and my needs. And like those are the tools that I end up staying with.
Right. Yeah. And so another thing my mentor has said is like, you're not selling a product, you're selling value.
Mm.
Nowadays, people and especially Americans are just so conditioned to being sold products and sold and solicited to all the time
Mm.
that we have an aversion to it.
Yeah.
So we really do. So, it's about, for me, it's about building a relationship first, because if they don't want to do business or they don't have a pertinent question at the time I'm calling, they might later.
Yeah.
And if they like me and they think I'm, particularly useful, they'll call me back later and eventually be interested in what it is I do.
Yeah.
And that's when we can talk about prep in software and automation. So, it's really a long game. Like, I'm here to stay. I'm not, this isn't a quick flip. I'll probably sit on this business for a long time. And, people will, for example, I had a woman that I called, my cold email guy, set the appointment. I had a sales call with them and they say, yeah, I know who you are. I saw you on Instagram. And I thought, wow, okay, that's the first time I've heard that. That's the first time you hear that, it's like, whoa, I'm out
Right.
there, like my face is out there, and it's like, yeah. And so that kind of sat for me. And I was like, yeah, I have been running Instagram ads for about a year now, at a very, very low budget, but I wanted to throw that out there because our clients are almost entirely on Instagram. It's their main platform. It's so consolidated that I thought, heck, I'm going to throw $5 a day on this boosted reel of me just talking about prep. And so now, here and there, people say, "Oh, I saw you online." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm glad I've got a pinch of credibility coming on to this call with you then. So
Yeah.
how can I help?" Right? So yeah,
And I'm sure, like, I've watched your content too online. It's not this, like, I don't even know what to put it, but just like there's a lot of really bad sales content, especially in the sales SaaS world, like, the get rich quick, the solve all your problems type, like overblown. Like you're very real. You're very like human in that content as well. And that's something I've ascribed to too. I remember the first time that I got on a call that was, well, actually someone emailed me. It's like, I've been watching you on YouTube for the last 4 hours. I can't figure this stuff out, but you seem like you're not going to like screw me over. Can we talk? And it's just because I was like talking like a normal person. I was like, this is a complicated thing. Like, this is how we solved it. If you got questions, I'm here to help.
yeah,
I genuinely want to help somebody, and like that's what you're saying too. And like I watched your content. And that's what one of the vibes that I've gotten. It's like, yeah, like Ray genuinely cares about his product. He cares about his clients. And then you already kind of have a weird level of trust where they think they know you a little bit because they've seen you, they've engaged with you, and they know what to expect. And then when they get on that call and like you're the same person that they saw on the Instagram video or whatever, that trust has already been built. And I also want to just highlight the long game is so important. We live in this like the social media world gives us bite-sized views of everybody's life. So we can watch somebody going from down in the dumps to multimillionaire and it looks like it happened like that. But what we forget about are the years of that journey and that process. And even like our customers are going through a process. It's not just like, it's a long game, we're investing into it. And they want to invest in companies that are going to be around, that aren't going to get flipped and turned over and sold. And, you know, like, you know, uh, like IBM was, they still might be known this, but like the big blue death, right? They would buy all these soft SaaS companies and just try to integrate them and end up killing them. And all these products that people liked are gone because they didn't know what to do with them. Um, and people have that fear too, right? I keep buying all this stuff like Apple, I buy a new phone and then they make it obsolete in a year. It's a trust breaker. But when you have a business with a long game in mind, um, it builds that trust. So I love that.
yep. No, you're right. You're 100% right. And I think this is interesting. And I read a study by a marketing firm a few days ago, and they say, we're almost out of influencer era rather, and we're entering now uh, content creators being brand owners era. So it's like, when the person talking owns the company, that is really, really going to establish trust quicker than anything else.
Yeah.
If the people now online watching the content, if they're receiving the message or the pitch from somebody who doesn't own the business, they're not as inclined to buy. So we're almost in like this founder fluencer era where like if you own now and you sell online, you like almost have to get on camera. I don't know that you have a choice right now. So
Hmm.
you have to get comfortable with it, learn how to, speak and articulate on camera and go for that. And there was another point too. But it's fleeting at the moment. Geez, it's okay. I'll skip it for now.
No, that's cool. I mean, it's interesting too to see because there was a study actually even a couple years ago by Harvard Business Review on influencer marketing and like how do we quantify it, and like the ROI was pretty terrible. Even in that, like like you get likes, and stuff on your Facebook page and stuff, and then Facebook obviously changes the algorithm, throttles all your content. So you spend all this money, get all this visibility, and then they cut you out at the knees. Like all of these platforms have the ability to do that. But if you're an owner, you can have your channels, you can have your blog content, you can have your personal channels and be yourself and engage with people. And I haven't read that article, but if you find it, I'd love to read it. Cause I've been seeing a little bit more of that. Right. I've always done it because I felt like I had to, but now my mindset probably over the last like 3 months has shifted to like, no, I actually like doing this. Like I actually like being in front of my customers and new prospects and having these conversations. One of the reasons I wanted to start this newer podcast because I get to talk to people. And I think that's again, like you said, you're creating trust. You're creating trust with the people because I've got skin in the game. You've got skin in the game, right? If something goes wrong, it's on us. It's not on the influencer could say, well, hey, I just got paid to run an ad. I don't really know. Like we're like, no, this is like, we messed this up. Like we mess up a lot of things. There's a lot of weight behind.
That's a fact. You learn so much. It's
Yeah.
it's like I remember what I was going to say now. Yes, the pitching. You mentioned that a lot of the pitching, like a lot of the pitching out there, a lot of the ads and stuff we see, they're a little bit like not inauthentic, I guess. And yeah, I mean, and we see consumer trends catching up with that. Like now we see like trending hashtags like Miami balcony boy,
Right.
right? The personality archetype that I'm describing, like they've taken like 100 different
Yeah.
stimulants and they get on their balcony or like, buy my course, like
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now, like, people kind of starting to make fun of that, and that sort of the inauthentic salesperson is kind of getting put by the wayside. And I probably seemed like I was very enthusiastic in the first few pieces of my content. I was super passionate about our product, and I guess I learned the hard way, as entrepreneurs do, that I didn't want everybody to buy my product.
Yeah.
I learned very quickly that your lowest ticket clients in SaaS have the most demands, they make the most complaints, and they're the hardest to do business with. And if they're just starting their business and they're not already making money, they're not going to make you money right away, but they're also not going to know what they're doing yet.
Yeah.
So, so I did start to really get more real and truthful and a bit more stoic in my content and my
Right.
messaging and just saying, hey, if this is you and you do X, I'm Ray, I do Y, there could be a fit here. And if there isn't, we can't have you on because
Yeah.
it's just not a good fit, right? So, and when I first said it, I was like, "Come one, come all, aboard the ark," like
Yeah.
let's do this. And
Right.
and you sober up after your first year and realize, nope, no, I don't want come one, come all. I think that 20 high ticket clients who have been in business long enough to understand their processes are a lot more beneficial to onboard than even 50, maybe even 70 brand new startups who just started cooking, the solopreneur
Yeah.
archetype and dynamic, right? So yeah, no, it's just you're right. Everything that you said was I can agree with, man. About yep.
Yeah, and likewise, what you said, that's not just in SaaS. I think that's true in any business. The most demanding are typically the lowest paying. They suck most of your time. They suck your energy. And over here, you really think you're doing everything you can to serve them and teach them and train them, and it just gets thrown back at you, with non-appreciative uh, expletives at times. But I would say too, that's a lesson I've had to learn. You're starting and you need revenue, right? You've got costs involved. You've got maybe people, you got the things you got to pay for. So you're like, well, I need revenue. And then you realize I'm actually losing revenue by having this client. Like if
Yeah.
you do the math, I'm losing revenue with the time, the energy, like everything that is sucking out of me. Not to mention they're not happy and they're not going to be happy. There's nothing I can do. And I mean, we've had to make in my business, I've had to make multiple pivots to say, oh, we're not working in that space anymore. Or, and being honest with people, I've had a couple people like, hey, we want to do this. And I'm like, honestly, man, what we do isn't a good fit for you. You could pay me money, but you're not going to be happy because we're not going to be able to deliver the results you want because people aren't searching for that. You should probably contract this or try it this way. Or, I got a guy that's locally, I'm like, he kills it with just like old school, guerrilla marketing, was putting stickers out for his pest control company, and he kills it. And I'm like, you don't need to pay me money to like you're fine. You're growing, your business is doing what it was and people know who you are all over town. Like do that, don't,
Yeah.
and that's okay to say no. And I actually think it's the more ethical thing to do in the long run for the other person as well. Right. Cause it's like, you're not
It
there.
really is. Yeah. It really is. I was on a sales call just before I joined this call, pretty much back to back. And it was a woman who was contacting me on behalf of the school. And, we're talking, she said about 1,000 kids that would probably be, that's not how many kids are in school. Was sort of what she had figured out would probably, and, the first thing I thought is like, okay, that sounds wonderful, but we don't support hardware. We're an e-com solution. We don't have a point of sale integration. We're looking at an integration with Ghost right now, but at the current time, we don't have it. And it's not even a high priority on our backlog to add that.
Right.
So right away, I'm like, oh, well, that's probably a medium ticket to a high ticket client, but I got a qualifier anyways, like maybe she expects hardware. So I said, okay, this is an e-com solution. Do you at any point in time want to use a point of sale? And she said, no, we want an e-com solution. I said, okay, well then now we can talk because I'm not going to sell you something that isn't aligned with your expectations that we don't offer.
Yeah.
Only to close you on a deal, do some paperwork and then say, okay, miss, we'll integrate and this will be ready in 6 months. And now you're pissed. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what I think is really cool about modern technology is one, those who are going to lean and just blindly lean into AI without actually thinking through the problems they want to solve are actually going to fail long term. It's going to look really bad. And I think what it's going to do is those of us who choose the more human route, where we're still leveraging these tools to make our processes, but like I use AI every day. I'm building our own processes and things that I can do, things that are repeatable and like just kind of like mundane tasks that need to get done. Absolutely. Let's leverage technology all day, but still taking the time to be human, picking up the phone, engaging with relationships. They're going to see a lift, I think, because there's a craving for that. You even look at the younger culture, there's a craving for connection. There's a craving for the humanness, even within a digital ecosystem, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind. And you've made so many good points on that. And just, your customer journeys and the conversations you've had. So I really appreciate that, Ray. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And you're 100% right. I want to pull back on some of the AI that we use. Even like right now, I use a CRM called High Level, and it's really great, but it doesn't have all the settings I wish it had. Like I wish that I could only have the AI assistant reply to people while I'm asleep, but I've got to manually turn it off and on. So it's a bit annoying when it replies during business hours, and it's not me personally. Um, but I think that like sales and prospecting and the sales cycle, I think you really do have the leg up if you don't have AI talking to people then and there.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, just to your point, like, they're buying nowadays, people are buying you. Like they're putting their bets on you, the person that they're talking with. Like this guy seems like I can trust him. This guy seems legit. This guy seems like he can locate his own earlobe. I'm going to, do some business with this guy, So, and to have AI doing the talking, it doesn't have the tonality, it doesn't have the perspicacity that it really needs to drive these conversations with people. And but leverage AI in the right places. And for us, I didn't mention this earlier. I mentioned we use it in our sales system. We have AI writing a lot of the code now. So we have GitHub Copilot engineering our product. And that is an awesome application of AI. That has been worth my while. Do I want AI automating my Instagram and posting random crap on other people's pages all day long? Not really. I don't really think that's the way. I don't really want that. But to have it write some code and be good at it and save me on engineering, basically reduce my liabilities there, I'm all for it. And it's been doing a really good job.
Yep.
It's GitHub Copilot for anyone interested.
Yeah.
That's a really good tool.
Yeah, that's been a huge application for me as well. As I've got a number of different custom collabs or files that I use for research. Doing internal links, vector embeddings, content analysis, all of those things that I want to track. And it's I used to spend hours when something would break on Stack Exchange just trying to find out that I missed a comma somewhere. Where now I can run it through a system and get that problem solved much quicker, which is so great because I don't consider myself a legit coder. I consider myself decent at copy and pasting, which is I think what a lot of us do anyways. But
Yep.
it's a great application. You're right, because I'm like I don't even know how many hours I've spent on Stack Exchange being like, what did I do wrong? Just to only find out I'm like, seriously, it was like a comma or a semicolon. So yeah, there's definitely great applications, and it's just like finding that balance. So if people want to learn more about you, they want to learn more. I guess you mentioned your brand. Just one more time, where can they find more about you?
Yeah, great spot to check us out is Instagram. It's Order Prepped, Prepped. Website is the same, orderprepped.com. You'll get the most information on those two pages.
Cool. And I'll make sure to link everything down below. That way, anybody wants to kind of follow and check out what you're doing. Ray, thanks so much for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy. You got a lot of things going on, but this was a really fun conversation, and hopefully we'll have many more in the future.
Yep. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, Ryan. Take care, bud.
Man, thanks. Well, thanks for joining that conversation with Ray and myself. I hope that you learned something new today, maybe about how you can leverage AI in your sales processes, maybe try some new things that you haven't done before. I know that there's some things that I want to try out. And also just how Ray did a really cool job of smart scaling. He really simplified his process. He didn't overcomplicate things. He listened to his mentor, and he took a really human approach to that. And I thought that was really cool. So I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, give us a like, make sure you comment below with any of your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with somebody else, and we'll see you next time.